Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Paul Miller, and I'm so fortunate to be joined here, as I am every single month, with Adrienne Thoman. Adrienne, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, and we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come share what we have going on the April calendar. Obviously, April is a unique month for us here at the college. We have a new term. We have beautiful, bright weather outside. Hopefully, we can steer clear from some of the rain that we've had over the last few days. But to be honest, it's always sort of a rejuvenation, if you will.
And campus is beautiful right now. I just saw daffodils walking over to the new podcast studio, which I was very excited about.
And the interesting thing is that we do, on campus, they do a very, very nice job as far as landscaping, and the springtime is the time to be here on our campus. So we certainly hope that you guys get out of your rooms and get out and do some of the things that we're going to discuss with you today. Obviously, we have Adrienne's Featured 3 coming up here in a little bit, but there was a couple of events that I really wanted to highlight on the April calendar. First of all, we got to put it out there to everybody. If you're new on campus, or even if this is only one of your first couple of terms, we always talk about the importance of getting involved in campus without trying to seem like a broken record. Can you just give a little bit of an idea why a student might want to get involved with some of the things that we're going to talk about today?
So first of all, it's a great way, especially if you're a new student, it's a great way to meet other students. My thing that I always say is if you wanted to only talk to people that thought about the same things you did or knew the same things you did, you could just stay at home and look in your mirror, right? College is a wonderful opportunity to really experience different viewpoints, different cultures, different lifestyles, and to have that opportunity to just broaden your horizons. Also great to find things that you could put on your resume, like leadership opportunities. Our clubs give incredible leadership opportunities. Being a small campus, our students don't just have the opportunity to maybe be on a club. They often have the opportunity to be an officer, to be a leader, to really direct what that club is doing, which is an incredible experience that you'll be able to use well beyond your time here at Central Penn.
One of the interesting things that I wanted to bring up here is in my Communications 100 class, I always do an end-of-term project, not so much a research project as sort of going and trying to find things. And one of the things that I ask them to do is to go and find the job that they want and find a job description for that specific job. And then look for some of the repeating themes that they see throughout these job descriptions. And spoiler alert for any of those of you who are doing this project, leadership's almost always one of them. Almost any position is going to ask for some type of leadership. And leadership's one of those things, though, Adrienne, if you could comment on this, that's difficult to detail on a resume without a president or vice president type position. I mean, can you explain how maybe some other ways that you can sort of quantify leadership on a resume from a club perspective?
From a club perspective, I would think of the real tangible things that the clubs are planning. The fact that the Nightly News was involved in the development of a podcast studio and an entire podcast that's now going to be continued, that's an incredible symbol of leadership. That's definitely something to be proud of and something that I would encourage those students to include in their resume. Our clubs, they're doing community service projects. They're working together to plan fundraisers on campus that benefit different organizations. Our occupational therapy assisting students, a couple terms ago, they planned a Zumba-thon, and I got to come and teach that because I am a part-time Zumba instructor, which is a blast. But they actually took the initiative to plan this event to get the public there to raise funds to benefit a local family. There was a health condition that they were helping that family to support. That's a leadership opportunity. That's leadership experience. So
I really think it's unique that you just brought that up about specific project-based things. To be honest with you, that's one of the concerns that I wouldn't say concerns, but one of the initiatives that I try to bring to the club is I try to get every member involved in some type of leadership role some way. Yes, we have our officers who sort of run the day-to-day, but then I try to get some of our other club members involved. Like we have separate side committees. So even if you're not a club officer, you can say, hey, I was the head of the fundraising committee, or I was the head of the community service committee, or whatever, because I understand how important it is to show some type of leadership. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of our other clubs do that as well.
And it doesn't always have to look the same for we all have different strengths and different abilities. Maybe being the president is not something that you are necessarily motivated to do, but maybe you make the best flyers in town. So you're going to take the lead on the public relations committee and make sure that everybody knows about your club or event or activity that's coming up. So there's lots of different ways. It doesn't always look like, the title associated with it. There's lots of different ways to show leadership within a club.
Speaking of leadership, one of the big events that we have coming up here in the April calendar is the Women's Leadership Conference. That's going to happen April 24th. That's a Monday in the Conference Center from 8 to 4. Adrienne, without going too much into detail on this, because I believe that we're going to have a member from Career Services in to talk a little bit more about this, but why would somebody want to go to a conference such as this? What are some of the draws to these types of conferences for our students?
Oh, ladies, do not miss this one. It is going to be super fun. Career Services actually took the lead. Rubina Zizdin took the lead in planning this amazing event. It's kind of a unique event because it's going to include not just members of our campus community, but it's open to the public as well. So you are going to be able to network with women at various career levels throughout the Central PA region. The event is going to have if you haven't seen the flyers yet, there's an incredible lineup of speakers. So lots of opportunities to learn professional development. They have some that are tailored to students, some that are tailored to newly entered into the workforce, and some that are tailored to those that are further down their career path. All incredible opportunities to learn. I've heard that throughout the day, there's also going to be a DJ, professional headshots, a fashion show with Amajo, which is going to be so much fun. I actually am going to get to be in that fashion show, so I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
Ladies, just don't miss it. Make sure you're there. Super fun.
And just wanted to point out that there is advanced registration required. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about that whenever we do talk to Rubina. Now, from a, let's say, alumni perspective, because I know the alumni, Sarah has done some wonderful things trying to distribute our podcast to some of our alumni. Outside of the networking, because that's huge in any type of conference that you go to like this, why would an alumni maybe want to be a part of this? Maybe not so much for some of the day-to-day interaction, the ins and outs of some of the things that would benefit the students. But why would an alumni member want to come to such a conference outside of networking?
Okay, two different reasons. First of all, you yourself personally as an alumni coming to this professional development experience will be able to learn and grow as a professional. So you being able to hear these speakers is going to be beneficial to you. But the second part of that is you really have a great opportunity to show success to our young Central Penn students. So it's very meaningful, I think, for them to be able to see you and get your feedback and your input and to sit in those sessions with you and say, you know what, I had the same major as her and look where she is. Wow, I could be there. That, it's priceless.
And when you think about it, I'm actually hoping to get the alumni mentor program. I'm a big advocate of that with a lot of our students. I think this is sort of another way that some of our alumni might be able to mentor some of our younger students and give back to them. So that's certainly something that we're looking forward to coming up on Monday, April 24th. Last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to get into Adrienne's Featured 3, our favorite segment of every time you come on, is there's a very interesting film coming up here on Thursday evening, April the 27th, and it's called 13th. It's a documentary, and I'm hoping that you could give me maybe a little bit more about what this documentary is and what the evening is going to be like, because I do see there's a screening and a discussion. Can you fill us in a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So I know many of us are Netflix subscribers, so if you've been on Netflix, there's a documentary on there that's available now called 13th. And it's very thought-provoking. It goes and talks about the 13th Amendment, which ended slavery, and it makes the case for here was slavery abolished, but in place of that, how our American society then created and expanded the prison system as an alternative way to oppress the Black population, the Black community. So it really... I just watched it again the other day, and it's incredibly thought-provoking, definitely worth coming and being involved in the discussion. Our diversity committee is in charge of the event. They're the ones that took the lead in presenting it and bringing it to campus. So we're going to get together. We're going to watch. We're going to have snacks, have some food there for everybody, and then afterwards, hopefully, stay and have some really thoughtful discussion about what was presented in the documentary.
So what they're talking about there probably has a lot to do with the rise of for-profit institutions for incarceration around the United States.
Yes, they do mention that.
That is something that I've done a little bit of research about, and it is very scary when you think about it, because they are making money for every person that they have incarcerated, and it's very sad because certainly, there are absolutely segments of the population, and mainly minorities, that are basically have a much higher chance to be incarcerated. And who does that benefit? I mean, it certainly doesn't benefit them. It certainly doesn't benefit their families. So I guess who it's benefiting is the people who are profiting off of the people being in jail. So it's unfortunate, and I'm hoping that documentaries like this bring important subject matters to light. And the opportunity to watch Tapped with the Green Team as well during a Common Hour recently. And not to say that, the two documentaries are similar in any way, but what I appreciated the most about that, and certainly 13th as well, is if it wasn't for these documentary filmmakers making these films, maybe some of these types of things wouldn't come to light and change can't be made. Because to be perfectly honest with you, in anything socially that we are dealing with, someone needs to bring light to it. Someone needs to do the dirty work and then bring it back to the population to make it understandable so we care about it. And I love when we do these type of things here on campus, because a documentary like this can really have a significant impact, and then we can go from there. Then we can share it with others. Then we can actually care about something and take the next steps, contacting our representatives in Congress and even at the state and local level. I think these documentaries have a lot of power in our society. So I'm looking forward to checking that out, and I really hope that there is some good discussion.
Absolutely. I tell my oral comm students all the time that nothing changes until somebody said something.
And that's absolutely true. And one of the things that I try to get across to a lot of my students as well is find those things that you're passionate about and do something with that. A lot of the students, especially in my freshman seminar and even oral comm to a certain point, are still trying to feel out where they're fitting in society. And one of the best things that they can do is be passionate about something. Because even if, let's just say this is a subject you're passionate about and you want to continue on with that, that is something that honestly you could put on a resume if you got involved in a civic group, things like that. So just being involved with things that you're passionate about can really, really help you in the long run. So, you never know. Maybe this is something that could have a major impact on some of our students going forward. All right, so just a real quick recap of those two, and we'll go right into the featured three. First thing we talked about today, the Women's Leadership Conference. That's going to be Monday, April 24th. The second is the 13th documentary screening and discussion. That's going to happen on April the 27th. That's a Thursday evening at 6 o'clock in ATEC 200. So now it's time for everyone's favorite segment. It's Adrienne's featured 3 of April. Adrienne, what is the first event that you have on the slate?
So I'm cheating a little bit. The first feature is actually going to be a combination of some of the fun things we have during Welcome Week. So when you get back on campus, or when you get to campus for our new students, there's a lot of fun things happening just in that very first week. So I wanted to give a shout out. Our baseball team has a home game on Tuesday, April 11th. It's going to be at Veterans Park. It's actually a doubleheader at 5 and 8. Come out and cheer for them. Those poor guys have had so many rainouts this season. They're ready to play. So I'm sure they'll be anxious to be on the field and looking for an audience there to cheer for them.
It's so amazing. We actually, over break, Professor Davis and I went over to a game and they weren't even playing. I felt awful. So bad.
Well, I walk into my office and the baseball coach's office is right next to mine. And I walk in, the team's there, everybody's there. And I'm like, are you ready for your game today? And all I get are these sad faces. Like, they're just so ready to play.
They went, 22 days or something like that without playing a game? And then they came back and I believe they won 19-0. So I guess the layoff didn't hurt them too much. But is that a night game under the lights there at 8 o'clock?
It's going to be at 5 and at 8. I believe they have lights at Veterans Park.
So that'd be pretty neat. So, the first day of the term, we can go check out the men's baseball. They're having a wonderful season, other than, of course, the lost games. And unfortunately, I don't think all of them are going to be able to get made up. But support our baseball team, and we look forward to a future relationship between the media club and the baseball team, hopefully next season.
The following night, on Wednesday the 12th, we're going to have game night and ice cream social, just an informal opportunity for you to come and hang out, eat some ice cream, play some games, win some prizes. That's going to be from 8 to 10 in the ATEC Lounge. And then if you're up early on Friday morning, there is going to be a campus-wide egg hunt. All those little plastic eggs with lots of candy and maybe a few other surprises inside them are going to be all throughout campus when you wake up on Friday, April 14th in the morning. So make sure you're there and grab a couple eggs on your way to class.
Are you going to give anybody some kind of idea where some of them are located? Because this is a big campus. I mean, they could be anywhere.
Oh, I have like 500 eggs.
Oh, my.
They're going to be all over campus.
The fun part about Easter egg hunts is after the fact, trying to make sure all of them are gone. So
our facilities department has already made comments that we need to make sure the eggs are cleared up, but they will be.
Well,
because you're all going to find them.
If you need any help with that, I'd be happy to help you. So the first week, that Adrienne's cheating a little bit. Week 1, we've got men's baseball on April 11th. We have game night and ice cream social in the ATEC Lounge from 8 to 10 on Wednesday, April the 12th. And then Friday morning before class on Good Friday, the campus Easter egg hunt on Friday, April 14th. What's your second event, Adrienne?
We've had a couple of students asking about bringing self-defense classes on campus. So we found David Chateau, who is actually going to be doing a three-part series, 3 weeks in a row on Tuesday nights from 4 to 5. He is going to be doing self-defense, and it's going to be very hands-on. He's going to be teaching us holds and moves, and I don't even go into details. I just know it's going to be great. It's going to be the first session is going to be Tuesday, April 25th from 4 to 5 p.m., and that's going to be an ATEC 200. We're going to move all the tables out of the way, and it's just going to be an opportunity to learn and have fun, and I think it's going to be pretty informative. So.
You mentioned it's a 3-part series. Do the students have to come to all 3 sessions, or can they pick and choose when they come? I guess what I'm asking is session 2 going to build from session 1?
So I think a little bit optimally, we would love to have students that attend participate in all 3. That being said, if you missed the first one, come to the second one. It's fine. We'll get you caught up on where you need to be.
Awesome. How about number 3?
All right. The final one is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Our Women's Leadership Retreat. So I have the opportunity every year to team up with Megan Peterson and Megan Klein. And this year we have Dr. Whaler going to be joining us to plan a weekend away at Camp Hebron in Halifax with our female students. Usually it's a group of about 15, and we just do leadership training, and we go horseback riding, and we have campfires and talent shows and mocktails, and it's just a wonderful weekend, and I love having that opportunity to share that with my students. So that is happening again. Ladies, the deadline to register for this one is going to be April 15th because I have to get your t-shirts ordered. So make sure you see me, get yourself registered by April 15th. It's $15. And then if you want to do the horseback riding, it's an additional $15. So if you want to do everything, it's $30 total for 2 nights, 3 days. All your food provided, all your supplies provided. So it's a great deal, great weekend. If you talk to any of the gals that have done it before, it's always been something that's really, really positive and a great experience we've shared.
I remember last year we talked about that. That's the first time I've ever been able to say that yet. I remember last year when we talked about this on the podcast. You had talked about some of the leadership exercises that you did. Can you just give us I don't want to have a spoiler alert for anybody, but can you just give us just a real quick overview about some of the specific leadership exercises you guys do that weekend?
Sure. So some of the things that we have planned for this year is Professor Janet Bixler our theater director, is going to be there the first night and lead us in a goal-oriented mandala project. So it's going to be a hands-on, kind of crafty project to help really get an idea of our vision for our lives, which I think is going to be really neat. On the final day, we actually have Dr. Linda Fedrizzi coming in to be our keynote speaker. I'm so excited to hear from her. I think that's going to be a really cool opportunity. We also have a panel discussion that day that's going to have some females and women professionals from the working world that are going to come in and share their expertise with our students as well.
Sounds like a wonderful weekend. I mean, for one, $30 just for 2 nights at camp and food. I mean, that's unbelievable. But to add, again, something like this you can add to your resume to network with some of these very influential people, yourself included, on our campus, and just to build a positive relationship with them. It really is invaluable to our students to do things like this. So
tell them to be ready for the talent show, because we are ready. Last year we shocked them. It was me and Megan Klein, Megan Peterson, and Dr. President Scalfaro had come and joined us as well for the weekend. And we did this talent show. I think they underestimated us. We broke out with the whole rendition of NSYNC's Bye 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 with all the choreography. It was amazing. So we're ready to bring it again this year. So watch out.
Well, Adrienne, honestly, from our students, I have to say thank you for organizing such a retreat, and I really hope that some of our students take advantage of that. Can they contact you to register?
Absolutely. There is a link in Student Central, so that's already live, so they can do it there if they'd like, or they can stop and see me in the underground, shoot me an email, whatever's easiest. That's
the best thing about you, Adrienne. You're always very accommodating when it comes to getting a hold of you. All right, real quick recap of the featured 3. We've got the 3 different events during the welcome week, between the baseball game, between the game night and ice cream social, and between the campus Easter egg hunt. We also have David Chateau with self-defense. That's going to be the first occasion of that, will be Tuesday, April 25th from 4 to 5. And then finally, we have the Women's Leadership Retreat that'll take place Saturday, April 29th through, I believe, is that Monday, May the 1st?
Yep. And registration ends on April 15th.
So make sure that you're registered by the end of the first week. And make sure if you have any questions about any of these things to feel free to contact Adrienne at Thoman at centralpenn.edu. Adrienne, thank you very much for joining us here on the Nightly News Podcast.
As always, thank you for having me.
So for Adrienne Thoman, Student Activities Director, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll be right back with the Nightly News Podcast.
This is Norman Geary, news correspondent. Thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome back to the Nightly News. We're here with online math professor here at Central Penn College, Cheryl Baker. Cheryl, thank you so very much for coming today. And we're going to talk for the second segment here with Cheryl a little bit more about some of the online aspects of math. So let's just start off with this. I understand that there is a fear of math out there, and I get it a lot. I have many advisees. I talk to many first-term students, and when I talk to my advisees, typically math is always pushed back and pushed back. And I've actually had a few students who had to stay an extra term because they were thinking to themselves, oh, I have 2 math classes to take. I can take them at the same time. Unfortunately, you have prerequisites for your math classes to move to the different levels.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why students fear math so much?
There actually is a term that we use, math phobia, and which causes great math anxiety. Anxiety is actually a learned condition. You are not born with anxiety, but there's math anxiety and number anxiety and test anxiety. I have not met almost any student that hasn't had some type of fear of math. If I've talked to 20 students, 19 of them will tell me, I hate math, I don't like to do it, I won't do it. And when I talk to them and I tell them math is fun, you have to play it like a game. The problem is that math is cumulative. So when you start with the basic operations, you're going to build on those. So if your foundation is weak in the beginning, your house is not going to stand. You're not going to be able to do the applications and concepts that you need to do in the future. And I think students think, okay, I can learn how to multiply, I can learn how to divide, and then I'm going to be okay with logarithms because I know how to do that. It's not. It's a building process, step by step. And if one of the steps is weak, you have to go back. And I think with other courses sometimes, you can learn U.S. history. You can learn about the Civil War, and then that has nothing to do with the World War II. So that's the whole difference between math courses and other courses. Math is like a sport. You have to train, you have to build your skills, you have to keep continuing to build your skills or you'll lose them.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because one of the classes I've taught the most here at the school is oral communications. And I try to tell the students toward the end of the class, after we've gone through everything, after they've given their final speeches, I always on the last day try to give them a little bit of motivational help. One of the things I say is exactly what you just said. Guys, you have to understand that we've been building our abilities in public speaking this term, but if you just stop here, you're never going to be able to take it to the next level to where you're a proficient public speaker. You have to use this, you have to remember everything that we talk about, and you have to apply it when you're doing presentations in other classes. And so I think that there are some classes I believe that absolutely are essential to build over the years. And I think certainly math's one of those too. Now, another question that I have is, one of the things, again, that we talked about in the first segment is that there's just this stigma across the country that online classes are so much easier than the average class. Do you find some students take the online sections of your class because they're intimidated to be in the classroom and think it might be easier to take online?
I'm not sure if they're intimidated to take it on in the classroom. I think what they think is, I can't make it to class. I have too busy a life. I'm going to take this online class where I can work at my own pace and get everything done whenever I want to. And they don't realize that we have restrictions and dates, and they must fulfill certain obligations at certain times. I'm not sure they grasp that concept with an online class. Online classes, I think I discussed that with you earlier, I think are somewhat harder because you have to be self-motivated, you have to be self-disciplined. I've had students tell me, I have such a busy life. Well, everybody has a busy life. And what they don't realize is this is your goal, to get this class done. So you have to make time slots to get that done. And that's the hard part of a virtual class.
So I had some feedback from one of our students that had taken an online section of math and just wanted to give us some feedback on how and why she did very well in the class. First and foremost, the thing that she said is, this is a quote, "No way is there a way to survive without a textbook." Can you give us a little
important?
Can you give us a little insight on how often do you find that students don't have the textbooks, and can you give us just maybe an idea of what their success rate was?
I often, and almost always, there's at least one or two students that don't have the textbook when the class starts. They will eventually get it, but at that point, if it's 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, they've already missed a lot of the basics, and there's not time in an online class for me to go back over those. And besides that, there's time limits. At Central Penn, we have books on reserve in the library. I suggest that to them. And sometimes students aren't motivated enough to just go out there and get what they need. It's vital. You have to have the book from day one, and it's my understanding that they can rent books online now.
There's so many ways to get books.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly through our portal, but there's hundreds of used book sites and things like that. And it's, all they really have to do is, even in the break, if they, and really they could just go to the bookstore and see what the ISBN is, but you can always contact your professor and we can give them the ISBN so
Absolutely.
They can make sure that they have the book in time.
Absolutely.
Amazon also does something interesting. If you're a student, they do free expedited shipping as well on textbooks.
Yes, they do.
So, I mean, there's, not that I'm, putting them over our own textbook providers, but just, obviously there are ways to have your textbook. And to me, after being here I've been here for 4 years now, I think anybody who doesn't have the book day one, I think it's just a cop-out, and I think it's just laziness on their own part.
I do too, and I don't think they realize that because it's an online class, that book is one of their biggest resources. They have to refer to that book often. They have to actually read the book, and they can't just go in and do the math problems. It's vital for the assignments as well, but there is a lot of information on concepts and applications that they could get online, but to be assignment specific, they must have the textbook.
So one of the things that the student also said was that in some of the coursework, they had some different ways to present material. Now, I know talking to you, you said that you'd done a video each week. When you did your videos, what were some of the things that you were doing in your videos each week in general?
Okay, my goal for this term was to put a video in each week. And since I've taught Math College Algebra 105 several terms now, in their assignments, I know where the problem areas are. So I tried to focus on those problem areas. And I think I mentioned to you that I am very strict about graphing, and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. So my very first video, along with the rules of what I call graph etiquette, I had that in every online class, but it was a written announcement. Now, in the first video, I actually graphed and said, I want you to have graph paper, I want you to draw lines with rulers, and exactly what I wanted in that video. And not only that, but I enticed them with the video by having some secret clue that they had to tell me that they got a bonus point for. And it was absolutely amazing. Their first assignment, I would say 95% of them had beautiful, excellent graphs, exactly what I wanted and exactly what I was looking for. And the feedback that I gave them was excellent. I was just amazed. It's amazing that students, when they see me, they see my face and they see what I'm looking for, they'll do it.
One of the things that she said, she had Professor Megan Ream, who's also the math tutor. She said that a lot of the things Megan was doing was using a whiteboard to explain a specific problem, but also to use different colored markers in the whiteboard display. The student here said that she really appreciated because she's a visual learner. But that to me is one of the challenges in teaching online. So I've always talked about how, I was teaching online classes and friends and colleagues of mine would be, oh, well, that must be easy. And I said, actually, it's the exact opposite. So it's funny because, in the same way the students, it's a little, I would think it's a little bit more difficult online. For us as instructors, it's absolutely much more difficult, much more time consuming to put together an excellent class. So I think that that's something else that the students don't necessarily realize because they don't see us in class each day for that hour. They don't see really how much behind the scenes work goes into creating some of these classes too. So that I think is something important to note. Now, can you talk about some of the other ways that your lessons are presented? Obviously, you'd said videos, but what are some of the other ways you introduce the material to students?
Every week starts out with an announcement telling them what's expected, and then they go to the coursework tab in Blackboard, and it starts out with a discussion, and we're going to talk about a topic for that week. Then there's an overview that tells them exactly what's expected when their assignments are due, and exactly the order. And I actually, for the past 2 terms, I've tried to entice them by making the homework due before the quiz appears. So the quiz has an adaptive release.
Sure.
And my goal was to get the students to do the homework so that I could grade it and give them feedback, and then for them to take the quiz. It is working. It's not working exactly as I want it to work because they can submit the homework and then the quiz opens automatically. And what happens is the students wait till the last day or the very last, next to the last day, to hand in the homework. So I don't have time to grade it before their quiz. So I'm working on more incentives like that. But they'll have an overview that tells them everything they need to do. Then when they go into the week itself, there are topics and resources for each concept in the overview. And then they go to a module that is for the assignments, and they'll see the discussion, the homework, and the weekly quiz. There's time limits, so there's reminders. I'm constantly emailing, constantly sending announcements, and Blackboard also reminds them of deadlines.
Now, in my last question here to you, Cheryl, and first of all, Cheryl Baker, thank you so much for coming today.
You're welcome.
One of the things that I really wanted to get across to the students is that even if you are an online student, we have tremendous support here. Now, obviously, you seem like you are very on top of things, making sure to put yourself out there if students need any assistance. But do you have some maybe interesting websites, or certainly we have our math tutor, Megan Ream, here on campus. I will put in with the article that comes along all her contact information. But what are some of the things that students can do if they just don't have a chance to touch base with you or touch base with Megan? What are some of the things they can do on their own to try to bolster up some of this confidence in math?
I think little successes lead to big successes. And I'm very familiar with Megan Ray. Megan and I talk all the time, and she's a wonderful resource. But students today have everything at their fingertips. All they have to do is Google. And there is one particular website that is Khan Academy. He is a genius. And you put in Khan Academy and any topic whatsoever, whether it be long division, multiplication, rational polynomials, and he will have a video, audio lesson. He will teach to every type of learner, and you mentioned that type of learner. It's vital that we teach to the visual, the audio, the kinesthetic. We need to have different resources that teach to the different learning styles. And I would suggest to students that if they don't know their learning style, they should find that out.
And that's something that I actually do in freshman seminar and college success as well, is we do a VARC test and we get an idea of the student. But I always try to explain to the students that when you find out what your VARC is, that's the best way to study and certainly look for ways inside of courses too, if you are a visual learner, to find that, but that you still have to be ready to adapt because, you know, unfortunately, we are unable to, at this point, do something for every individual learning style. It's just far too difficult. We try to do as much as we can to, like, whether it just be a narrated PowerPoint with lots of pictures and visuals and graphs and charts. So we try to do as much as we can with that, but the students still do have to be able to adapt to the way that the professor's offering the material. And then, like you said, go out online and find other resources that are a little bit more in line with your learning style.
I totally agree.
Cheryl, thank you so much for doing this today, and I really hope that this is helpful to some of your online math students, and I hope that this is just a little way to sort of break the ice with them. And just to tell them, you know, this may be a challenge, but it's not going to be so difficult if you really just put the time in. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to any of your maybe potentially students who are just entering into your class the first time they've taken a math class online, what would that advice be?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to read everything and follow directions.
I mean, and you can't do much better than that. And certainly you'd already mentioned earlier making sure you have some type of study schedule, making sure you're budgeting enough time to do your get through the material each and every week, but certainly reading and asking questions. That's what we want to hear.
I have one last comment.
Sure.
Please don't hesitate to get in touch with your instructor, your professor. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you, and that's what we want to do. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Contact us, email us, join our virtual office. We will help you.
And that's, like I said, like Cheryl said, that's part of why we are here. We want to make sure that you guys are getting through these courses in a proficient way. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for spending time here with the Nightly News today, and we really hope that this podcast is able to certainly help some of our new students who might be taking online math classes.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
No problem.